So very rarely can you say that a sequel is better than the first movie, especially in horror. They normally just grab an idea, and if the first one's successful, they just fucking milk it for everything it's worth. Now, by the end of this film here, that's probably what they're going to end up doing with this franchise, but this film here is 10 times better than the first one. So the whole idea of this smile monster thing in the first one, yes, it was unique, but I felt like in that first movie, they just followed every single horror trope there is, and they just relied on, hey, look, this is the new smile demon, this is the new horror icon, this is scary, yeah? And they just kept doing it over and over. But in this movie here, they really prioritize a great story. So this wasn't like every other horror movie. They don't just say, here's a bunch of jump scares, be scared, here's a scary looking thing, be scared. This movie here really made you think, and it really fucked with your head. So you've got this singer, she's been through like a lot of tragedy. She was a major crackhead, and her and her boyfriend had like a car accident because they were fucking high as kites. Then she's on her redemption tour and she gets infected by the smile monster. And this film really centers around her. You feel like you're living life with her. It really puts you in her shoes. And the story was written so well that it really blurs the lines of reality. This smile monster just fucks with you constantly. And the shit that she's going through, sometimes it's real, sometimes it isn't. Then you're wondering, was that in her head? Then you think, no, it wasn't in her head. It just blurs the lines of what's real and what's not. And you're sitting there wondering, is this actually happening? It sort of makes you put your investigator cap on and really have a think about what's going on, because the film just fucking trolls you over and over, but it's done really well. And they really make you feel for this main character. Yes, she was a fucking screw up in the past. Everyone makes mistakes. They move on from it. And you really want her to succeed and really want her to survive. And the shit she goes through in this movie is fucking unbelievable. You just feel so bad for her at times. Like, the film sets her up in certain situations, and when you know that scene's coming, you know what's going to happen. You know it's going to end in an absolute train wreck, and it does most of the time. And that's mainly down to the performance here. I forget the actress's name. I haven't really seen her in much. I think this is her first lead role that I've seen from her, but she was amazing. She absolutely took this performance and took it to another level. The film was surprisingly very gory as well, which I did not expect. Nothing like Terrifier level gore, like nowhere near that. But for a Hollywood horror, it was pretty gory, and they used the gore in times that they needed to. They didn't overdo it and they didn't underdo it. The work behind the camera here was really good as well. Like, it didn't feel like a horror at times. It really felt like a suspenseful drama sort of movie. So again, it's a big improvement over the first film. So a few things I didn't really like when it comes to this movie, and this is the biggest one. This trailer has a serious case of giving away the main part of every scene-itis. And what I mean by that is there is a section of every scene in this trailer, specifically the ending of every scene in this trailer. And I'm pretty slow when it comes to piecing things together in movies like this. Straight after a movie, I'm straight to YouTube, movie title explained. So I may be a bit slow, but I feel like there's a major plot hole in the beginning of the film. A certain person dies, another person witnesses it, so he gets infected, but he's not the last person to witness it. So I don't know if I'm slow here, but in terms of the lore they're trying to create, it didn't make sense. The first act of this film is such a drag. Like, I mean, it's so slow. It's all about her and her past, and it really drags on. But that gets quickly erased because the second and third act were absolutely mental. And the ending of this film, I'm really in two minds about this. I absolutely hated the ending of the first film. The ending of this one, I'm 50-50. So I'm not going to give anything away, but on one hand, it opens up for a million new Smile movies, which I really hope they don't do, and they just keep going and going and going until there's fucking, it's just bled dry. So on one hand, I see why they went with the ending they did, and on the other hand, I'm like, man, are you fucking for real? Like, have I just wasted 2 hours? So I'm in two minds about that ending, but it's not the end of the world. Some of the acting wasn't fantastic from some of the side characters, but I think that was intentional. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt here because it sort of makes sense in terms of what happens in the story. This one here does have its horror tropes, but they do it in a really good way. Like, the jump scares were actually effective in this movie, and you can't say that for a lot of horrors. You know when all that shit's coming. But the ones that weren't in the trailer, as I said, the trailer gave away half of the scenes in this movie. The ones that weren't in there genuinely made me jump. So in the end, I really actually like this film. I reckon it's one of the better horror releases of this year, or Hollywood horror releases of this year. A lot better than the first, and it improved upon everything the first did 10 times. So yeah, I quite enjoyed this one, so I'm going to give this a 6.5 out of 10. So if you've seen the film, let me know what you think, and thanks always for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.